welcome back to Top Ends with Twins. This week we're going to talk about some of the best attacking forward and midfield options, and also discuss DEFCON to get you prepared for the first week of the season. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Top Ends with Twins. We are so happy to have you here for another episode. Luke, tell the people how you're doing right now.
Well, I'm doing good. Got my leg propped up as I should be. In case you all do not know, I have just recently had surgery on my anterior cruciate ligament on my left leg. So if I sound a little under the weather, it's because I'm recovering from that that surgery. Difference there. So just a little, put that out there to start out the podcast. So yeah, but outside of that, I'm doing good. Excited. FPL will be back in, almost under a week now, which is absolutely insane. That is crazy. We're that close.
We are right there, which is absolutely wild, right?
Which means we have to be getting those drafts kind of nailed in, have an idea of what we want to go with, and then kind of just be making small changes over the, kind of final days. So there's a lot still to be settled. I think the transfer window is going to really kind of push us in certain directions with some late movement in the window. For example, if Isak makes the move to Liverpool, teams will immediately change, right? I think there's going to be a lot of people assuming Isak's going to go to Liverpool, but that is yet to be determined at this point in time.
We'll just have to see how that one plays out. It's going to be scary if Isak's there. I mean, it already seems like Ekitike is probably going to be a really good fit for them anyways. He's going to link a lot of different things with Verts and then Salah on the right, and then who knows who's going to be on the left. They still may make a move. It may be Gakpo. We'll see. But Liverpool having a hell of a transfer window. Still a lot of pieces moving. Newcastle is apparently begging people on the street to just start for them. That's
poor Newcastle.
Seems to be what's going on right now.
I do feel for them. They've had a very difficult window, and it's a great club. So it's a shame to see players not wanting to go there, because I think it's a missed opportunity for some of the players who've decided to go other places.
I would agree with you on that, Luke. I think they're kind of at a point where they really want to be bringing in those like top tier players to really complement what they already have, and the fact that they're basically losing a lot of stuff at this point and not bringing any assets back is worrisome for where their project's sitting right now. Because I mean, if you can't sell people to come there, how are you going to keep improving? How are you going to keep getting better? Right. At a certain level, it just gets, I think those margins get so much harder to get like that top 1% of player.
Yeah.
And Newcastle's just showcasing that right now.
It is. And I'm not sure if the listeners are aware of the situation. And we'll be really quick about this because we want to get back to FPL. But with James Trafford, who was the keeper from Burnley that Newcastle were trying to get over the summer, Paul and I have discussed this. They had a situation where they bid on Trafford for, I think, 27 million. They thought the bid went through, but City had inserted a clause in any sell-on in the future for Trafford when they sold him 2 years ago to Burnley that they could come in and bid for him within, I think they had a 24-hour window. They placed their bid and basically claimed Trafford as their player in the 23rd hour. So that ultimately summed up how the window's going for Newcastle. Is just really unfortunate for them. So yeah, if anyone out there is a Newcastle fan, we feel for you. Maybe I do. I don't know if Paul does.
I think Luke's the only one that does.
I do.
I'm not bothered.
Yeah. He bleeds red, so.
They do know this. I'm sure, honestly, I can admit I've probably turned a couple people off this podcast because of my Arsenal fandom. But hey, you win some, you lose some. You know?
We are who we are.
We're not going to hide anything.
No, we're not.
But yeah, I mean, you're right, Luke. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces in the transfer window still to play out, but there already have been a ton of different signings. So we kind of discussed, I think, initially on the first pod that we did, or first live stream kind of situation, which, by the way, we will be doing a lot more of that. So keep an eye out. It may not be a live stream. It could be more just like videos uploaded to YouTube, but you're going to see both of our beautiful faces and in a really nice space that we kind of created.
It is just difficult to get to said space with a surgical leg. So we'll be getting back to that as soon as we can. But for the time being, I think going back to just the audio like we have now everyone can still enjoy that as well. So
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, this is what you're used to, us being on just like a strictly podcast basis, but that will be changing in the next going forward at some point. So just be on the lookout for that. But as of right now, Luke, with FPL, like we said, we basically have a runway of a week until that starts. How are you feeling at the moment with your FPL just thoughts, the teams you're creating? Are you kind of set in stone? Are you moving around? Like what are you thinking right now?
I'm moving around the edges at the moment, but I think I currently have a pretty set formula for certain pieces of my team that I want to have. And these are very high level ideas, but teams that it's structured around teams I believe in, players who I think might be going a little under the radar for how good they could be. So, just for example, the big elephant in the room, let's talk about the Norwegian Haaland. Haaland, someone that I think is being vastly undersold for how good he could be this season, just because City have retooled. They're going to be much better defensively in the midfield with Rodri back, and that's going to feed into a more cohesive attack. And Haaland getting more chances, more penalties, all those things. Last season was probably the worst possible season he could have had with injuries and then City not being the City that we've come to know. So I think Haaland is going to be a mainstay in every single one of my drafts. So what that means, conversely, is that Salah is probably not. I can confirm he's not in any of my drafts at the moment.
It feels very risky.
It does. It's kind of scary, but at the same time, I think Liverpool's going to, like we talked about in the last episode, I think Liverpool's going to play differently. And that was definitely confirmed to me whenever I was watching Liverpool recently. They're playing Athletic Bilbao. That was when they played 2 fixtures back to back. And it seemed like they were playing all day long. It was pretty crazy. But what I noticed is that as Liverpool's playing, Salah's still very involved, but there's having Verts in there, Ekitike, Gakpo's looking really good. He got 2 goals in the fixture that I was just speaking of. All these other pieces are looking good, and I think Salah's not going to have the output that he had last year. So,
yeah, I think we both really agree with Salah that it's going to be more of a just distribution of goals across that Liverpool team. And I mean, I would be really surprised if Salah surpasses his points total, which is something we may touch on a little bit later, about where we think all the premiums are going to fall exactly in like a point range and all that stuff. But to me, I just don't think Salah's going to have the same year, because I think he's playing with better players. The system, I don't think is going to be catered as much towards him, which I totally understand. I'm talking about the Liverpool team that honestly probably should have gone deeper in Champions League and that won the Premier League from a pretty easy margin. So, I mean, it's pretty wild to be saying that, but Liverpool have just had that kind of transfer window where it's been once in a lifetime. Like, as a Liverpool fan, I don't know how you couldn't, like, if you're a Boston Red Sox fan and the FSG group is screwing over your other team, that's a problem. But, like, if you look at it from a perspective of just from a soccer-only lens, which is honestly all we really care about in this podcast, just love throwing out a conspiracy theory every once in a while. It's so exciting. I mean, and they're investing too in younger players. So it's not just like this is like they went and bought like the best 28 or 29-year-old striker in the world. Like, they've added a lot of different pieces that are building this project to be more long-term, which sucks for Arsenal fans and every other fan of the Premier League.
This is a good segue. Do you know who has the highest net spend this summer?
It's Arsenal.
It is Arsenal.
It's like 208.
Just because they haven't had a lot of outgoings, which will probably change, right? I think Reece Nelson will probably be sold. Maybe Trossard, Martinelli's been potentially talked about as going, but yeah. So, but very impressive work from Liverpool, like you said. If you're a fan of Liverpool, it's a great time to be a fan. It's going to be a fun season. They looked really good watching them. You can tell that very crisp already. Ball controls very good, and they're going to be hard to play against.
They are. They're gonna be able to attack teams from a lot of different ways. Or I mean, honestly, if they're struggling in the first half of a match, Salah can be like, all right, I'm gonna sub 3 people in right now and just instantly change the dynamics, the setup, the team structure, all that stuff, which is really scary over 38 games. The issue, as we've talked about before, that was going to be if they can keep their defenders healthy. If they lose one of their center backs, they are probably going to be in a lot of trouble until January when they can make more moves.
Yeah, I think they will be. One of the activities that Paul and I went through building up to this podcast is we built a list of different like attackers that we thought were going to be some of the best to have in the game. A tier list of like, you know, top tier, tier A, tier B, tier C, tier D. And speaking of what we were just talking about, one player that I ended up throwing on the list, and I threw some defenders in there too, so I didn't necessarily stay true to what it should have been, but I really think Frimpong could be one of the best assets in this game. After watching how he played in that friendly, the question is he going to start? Does he have those minutes for him to be on the pitch? But he was playing as a right winger. So there were probably 10 to 15 times in that one match that I was watching, and this is why I didn't watch all 90 minutes. And the time I was watching, he had 10 to 15 times where he was being played through as a right winger, you know, either to get a cross in or potentially to have a chance on goal. If he's starting, people are going to flock to him immediately, but you're really, really running the risk he doesn't start a couple games to start out the season.
Yeah, to me, that kind of feels like one of those situations where you're exactly right. I mean, it could be awesome to be an early mover. If he gets the minutes, if he gets the playing time, you're taking a risk. To me, it's not worth really going there, and then maybe he subs in 50 minutes into the game.
Right.
Or he gets subbed out at 55. Like, until I know that he's going to have 75 plus minutes every match, I personally wouldn't choose to go there. But I agree with you. I mean, based on like what he did the last couple of years at Leverkusen, like, I mean, he's going to be a dynamic part of Liverpool's system, I think.
He will be. He definitely will be. I think the real question is, Frimpong is a great litmus test to see how people are approaching this season differently than they have in past seasons. Because I think personally, I would go with Frimpong if the rules had not changed like they have. Now that we have DEFCON, that is completely altering how we should approach defense, in my opinion. Where you can truly find value in a defender is someone who consistently is getting those DEFCON points, so an extra 2 points. Let's say they get their minute points and they get DEFCON with no cards or anything like that. That's 4 points automatically. You throw a clean sheet onto that and some bonus, and you're really cooking, right?
Yeah.
So X minutes are really important, along with them being good DEFCON contributors. So with that being said, I think this season the smart choice and the best choice is Virgil van Dijk if you're going to go Liverpool defense.
I agree with that. I agree completely.
Yeah, and because, you know, Van Dijk's really good on the DEFCON considerations. I can't remember what his average is. I can dig that up here in a second. But he rates very highly in that regard. But he also has attacking threat on set pieces. And he's a 90-minute man for them. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Yeah.
Yeah, it would truly be shocking if Van Dijk isn't starting and playing a full 90 minutes or 90 plus for all of Liverpool's matches to start the season.
Yeah,
I would truly be shocked.
Yeah. So the tricky thing about Van Dijk, right, is his average DEFCON, so his average defensive DEFCON points, right? The average per game is that he gets to 7.9. So, but that's whenever he's getting a clean sheet too. So the tough thing about that is that's not going to happen very often. So I think Van Dijk is a great pick, and he's very reliable. Liverpool are going to be better than they were last year, and they're going to control matches in a better way than they did last year. But there's lots of room for improvement there too, I think. So something to keep an eye on. Paul, I was talking about how I'm setting up my team, right? Haaland, and then I kind of talked about some defenders. What are some of the thoughts that you're building your team around this year?
I actually am kind of struggling a little bit right now with how much I want to go towards DEFCON, because I know that could be a huge vehicle to make to me, honestly, the DEFCON situation feels a little bit like if you're investing, if you want to have like passive income coming in. You know, it feels like I want to get defenders on my team. Obviously, to me, the priority is clean sheets. Like I want as many players on my team that are going to rack up as many clean sheets over 38 weeks. That should be the priority, in my opinion. I mean, you can look at it another way. You can spin the numbers, and maybe it makes more sense over a season to play a little more towards DEFCON. But also, while considering that, I want to bring in players that are still going to contribute in all the metrics of the system.
Right.
So defenders that I think could maybe possibly on any given week have a higher chance of getting a clean sheet and be into the DEFCON area.
Yeah.
Like those players are there's gonna be a sweet spot. I mean, it could be Tarkowski, could be Murillo, could be Milinkovic.
Are you looking at these players as like long-term holds for your team, or are you thinking you'll rotate them every like 10 weeks based upon fixtures? What are you thinking for that?
A lot of what I'm looking at right now is honestly situationally probably like 8 to 12 weeks out right now.
Okay.
Because I know that I have that wild card and it will be played probably between 8 to 12. Because, I mean, you obviously with AFCON transfers and match week 16, we want to go into that with one transfer. You want to maximize that so that you can essentially have like 2 wild cards this season.
Right.
And then you can also
three total.
Three basically, yeah, 3 this season, but 3 2 the first half of the season, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it logistically, I mean, it's like you start off with a wild card basically. You have another wild card in 8 to 12 is what my thought process is. I'm not 100% sure. It's probably somewhere in that range. Then you basically have another wild card with the 5 transfers. So you set yourself up for success. And like, we know that things are going to go wrong in FPL, but I also am really towing the line. I'm kind of in the same camp as you that I think Haaland's going to have an awesome year.
Yeah.
And I don't really, like we said, same thing we were discussing with Salah earlier. I just think he's going to have a lower point tally, which, I mean, he could have a lower point tally and have the second highest FPL return ever. Like,
right.
It's very plausible. And the scariest thing about Salah too is just like his ownership.
Yeah.
It's probably like maybe around 56, 57 right now.
Keep it going. I'll look it up, but
it could be higher.
I saw it.
But I mean, let's just say hypothetically, both of us, which this podcast could just be a Haaland podcast now. Like, we'll see how it's like an experiment on where FPL is going. We're gonna be the Haaland side of things, but did you find
Salah's currently at 57% ownership,
yeah,
which puts him at the highest. Who do you think is the second highest?
João Pedro?
No.
Palmer?
Yeah, Palmer. João Pedro's ownership has plummeted. He's down to... Can't even see him on here. So I think he was top just because he, was in a lot of people's initial drafts, but I don't even see him on the list right now.
I never got the whole João Pedro thing. Like, it's like where does he fit in that attack? I mean, if they're starting, I mean, he could eventually. It wouldn't surprise me if he made a feature in a lot of people's teams at different parts of the season because he can get hot. I mean, he can score a lot of goals. He may win that 9 position. Who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. But the thing is, I think Delap would be a great fit for their team too.
I agree.
I think he's stronger than João Pedro, and he provides more of a presence in the box. João Pedro is going to be good. He's going to float around, cause a lot of havoc. He'll drop deep, create a lot for them. But there's something about Delap there that I think he could really make that position his own if he gets the opportunities.
Yeah. I know, and I'd say you are probably higher on Delap than I am. Like, I think he had some really good moments for Luton last year, or for Ipswich last year. Sorry, Ipswich fans. I know there's a lot to listen to this podcast, so.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran, feel free to follow us and shout us out on socials.
No, actually, we don't want it. Don't do it. I dare you. We dare you.
But, yeah, I mean, and the focus of my team, I really think, is like building from Haaland down, and then incorporating those DEFCON defenders while having premium midfield assets. So I just want it all. let's be real.
Me too. It would be wonderful if we could go back to 2 seasons ago where you could get Salah, Palmer, Saka, Haaland, Trent Alexander-Arnold, all those players into one team, right? Like that was That was crazy. And, obviously FPL towers are doing their job by making the game more difficult. They can't make it too crazy easy. But I think that it's tough, right? Because we know that in every draft we're going to be making, and whatever team we go with for the final game week 1 team we put out there, we're going to be missing pieces. And it's just a matter of whatever your judgment tells you that is the right way to go. So, there's a lot of information out there as far as how FPL content, the way people are interpreting data. At the end of the day, trust your gut. And if you think you have good reasoning behind the decisions you're making, trust that. We are fully here to tell you to embrace that.
Yeah, I agree, Luke. But I think we should take a quick little break, and then we can dive into, we did some, I don't want to say thought exercises, but we kind of both did some research, looked into, we kind of graded different tiers for attackers and midfielders that we're kind of looking at into the season. So we'll take a quick break, and then we can kind of jump into those and share some information there. So we'll be right back, okay?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Top Ends with Twins. We're going to go over a tiered list of attackers. So we're including midfielders and forwards here. Luke and I both made a list, and we're going to basically, I'm going to look at Luke's list. He's going to look at mine, and we're going to kind of give some feedback, point out anything that's interesting, and just kind of have a little bit of a discourse that may give you all a different thought process or create some kind of just an idea in your head where you're like, oh, I never thought of that. Who knows? Maybe me and Luke are original. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Let's just jump into it. Luke, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you guys can understand the layout of how we put this together. There's top tier, which is the elite of the elite attackers. There's A tier, B tier, C tier, and then D tier. Obviously, A being better than D, and then D being the worst of the best, right? So still good attackers, but maybe not as high up on everyone's priority list. And each category has 5 attackers in it. So, grand total, we have 25 players in there that are worth mentioning, we think, from an FPL perspective. For me, the first thing that I noticed when I was looking at Paul's list for the attackers that he's put together, he has in his top tier Haaland, Palmer, Wirtz, Saka, and Isak. So Salah does not make the top tier for Paul, which
I'm just committed to the bit, guys.
I respect. I really do respect. I think that for me, it's a little scary anytime I'm building a draft without Salah. So that naturally tells me that he's someone who could very easily bang in every match, right? So, but I think the inclusion of Wirtz is a great choice because Wirtz is someone who's a very versatile attacker. As you all can tell if you've listened to us talk the last couple episodes, I'm a very big fan of Florian Wirtz. I think he's a top class player that's going to bring a lot to Liverpool. The big question is, does that translate into the FPL returns that we need in order to justify not having Salah? That's the $1 million question. And I think that is going to happen, that Wirtz is going to justify not having Salah. So with that being said, I'm in complete agreement with what Paul has on his list, putting Salah in the tier A instead of the top tier and demoting him down a little bit. So I also think that there's a certain degree that Salah was very fortunate at times last season. It seemed like a lot of chances fell into his lap. And
I rolled my eyes.
Maybe the luck won't be as strong this season, right? Maybe. And the thing is, those chances are going to be shared amongst other teammates as well. So there's a lot of reasons why I think that. But that was my first takeaway looking at Paul's list. So, Paul, I'm going to hand it over to you and let me know your first takeaway from my list. And then we'll kind of go back and forth after that.
So, I mean, you had Salah on your top tier list.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody can really argue that you're wrong for that. I mean, I think we're both in agreement about what we think the year is going to look like for Salah.
Right.
But we easily could be wrong. But Salah is still going to be one of the best attacking players in this game. It's just, to me, his price point's way too high.
Right.
That's really where it falls. So, I mean, I don't disagree with you having him in your top tier. And the other people in Luke's top tier are Palmer, Saka, Haaland, and Isak. I think they're all great options. It could be a little bit of a weird situation with Isak starting off the season. Like,
My
who knows?
stipulation with Isak, I have him in the top tier because that's me assuming him staying at Newcastle, which I don't think will happen, but right now it seems like is possible. And that's the situation we're in currently. So I think Isak could very easily stay there. And if he stays at Newcastle, he's actually going to be a better asset value-wise than if he goes to Liverpool. Although we'll all have Isak if he goes to Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree with you, Luke. I think we're just that's kind of just like a sit and see how it plays out with situation with Isak. Because I mean, we knew last season. I mean, probably I'd say from like the second half, it was basically all season. He was a mainstay in a lot of people's teams. Like he had a great run last year. I mean, he had that stretch. I think there was like a 10 or 15 game stretch where he was just like it was just goal constantly.
Yeah,
Which he can easily do that. He is the profile player that is explosive enough to do that. But let's go ahead and hop down to tier A, Luke. Do you see anything from there? We can always hop down to tier B too if there's anything.
One thing that stands out for me is that we both have Victor Gyökeres as tier A. That is an interesting statement because a lot of people would push back on that. But the fact that we're in alignment there, I think, says a lot about Arsenal's attack. And while maybe so far in preseason he hasn't quite gotten many chances or many touches, he's going to be a great asset for them to have, I think.
Yeah, no, he is.
The other thing that stands out for me from your tier A is Mateta. No one other than Bang Bang Mateta, right?
Bang Bang Mateta.
Having him in tier A is, I really like it. It's not something that I would go to, right? I think there's other strikers that I believe have a higher upside this season because a lot has changed from this season to last. But I think Mateta is someone who has deserved the right to be mentioned in tier A. And, you know, within your side, if he finds his way there, then I respect it.
Yeah, there's an asterisk to that, which we can weave that into one of your tier A players I want to talk about, Luke. So in Luke's tier A, he has Verts, which I agree with. I had him higher. Gyökeres, Watkins, Kudus, and Eze. I bring that up because Eze and Mateta, I think if they stay at Crystal Palace, like if Eze stays, Mateta's stock totally rises.
Yep.
It's much higher with Eze because he creates so many things and takes so much attention and has a gravity that defenses have to listen to. That without him, they're really going to struggle to score goals, and it's going to be kind of bleak, especially for Palace. They haven't made any moves; like they haven't brought anybody in. Like
a perfect example of that is a goal that was scored last season by Palace. I can't remember who crossed the ball in, but
it was Munoz.
It was Munoz. Yeah. You know what I'm thinking of. So Munoz crosses the ball in from wide right, and then Eze takes a beautiful touch around about the penalty spot with his right foot, wraps it around all in the same touch, and plays it to Mateta, who really just has, for the form he was in, it's a tap in, right?
Yeah.
But that shows the brilliance of Eze and how Mateta benefits from that. And I think if Eze leaves, he'll still have a good season, but for him to be someone who's in a top tier attacker, he's going to need Eze to stay in that category.
Yeah, they're just going to struggle to find creativity and goals in that team if they don't have Eze. But if they still have him, which I hope they don't. I really hope he's an Arsenal player because Eze would be wonderful for Arsenal's attack if he's utilized the right way, not to spiral. But yeah, I and also Luke, I do have questions about Kudus.
Okay,
I think it's going to be early, and we'll have to see how he adapts to Thomas Frank's system, and also with James Maddison going down. I already have concerns about Tottenham's attack. Like where's the creativity up front? You know what I mean? Like they have Solanke. Hopefully Solanke settles in. They lost Son. There's been some turnover, new coach, new system. Just have questions about where the goals coming from, where they're going to be produced. Kudus could be great. He really could. But I think I'm looking at my FPL team as more so in the beginning. I don't want to be as speculative, and I want to go with options that I know are going to perform week in and week out. And in saying that, like we've talked about 5 times, I still don't have Salah on my team, you know?
Right.
So
right. That's a fair point to say at that point. But My thing about Kudus is there's multiple reasons. The first one being at 6.5 million, he's really good value. Spurs have one of the best fixture runs to start out the season. So I think getting a piece of that attack is something that I really think is a priority. And historically, we've seen under Thomas Frank's system that he really prioritizes having an amorphous setup with his teams where he can play in different ways, really fit the opposition. And maybe that'll change now that he's at a quote unquote bigger club. But what he also is really good at is getting the best out of his players.
Yeah,
he
completely
for
agree.
sure maximizes the talent from the players he gets. And Kudus is someone who, from the moment he was in the Premier League, and even watching him when he was with Ajax before, I think it was Ajax. I can't remember.
I think you're right.
It was Ajax. He's an extremely talented footballer.
No, he for sure is. I mean,
if he can piece it together,
he's on my next tier down. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying that, like, there's just a lot of question marks to me.
And so the other point I wanted to make within that, with Thomas Frank coming in, Thomas Frank is someone who heavily relies upon his wingers. They need to be very creative and they need to be direct, where they can create chances for the striker and be able to break really quickly. And Kudus is perfect for that. And I think he's going to really like playing with Solanke as well. So I think there's a lot of reasons why I think Kudus is a good pick. The top one being the value that you get at 6.5 and the fixtures. But there's plenty of great reasons to go with him, in my opinion.
So, Luke, I have an interesting argument for you.
Okay.
And this is going to tie in my list from our C tier list. I'm skipping around a little bit. I think Rice at 6.5 is better. It's going to be better value over the course of the season than Kudus.
Interesting. Okay. So you're thinking, I'll explain your thoughts from what I think you might be saying. So DEFCON is a big thing for Rice. How many contributions does he average per game?
Well, under Arsenal, I think it's more so, I want to say last year, when it factored, I was somewhere from like a 5 to 8 range.
Okay.
So he doesn't typically hit that threshold.
But he can.
But he could.
He can.
I mean, whenever he was at West Ham, I think there was a season where he would have had almost like 60 DEFCON points.
As a midfielder, he has to hit 12 to get the points, right? So,
but I mean, that blows, like, I know Caicedo last year would have added 44 points to his total.
Yeah.
Like Rice at West Ham, which obviously he's in a different system, different manager, all those different things. But he has the ability to do that. And also, go ahead. I'll let you sell it.
It's like you're saying, right? He has the defensive contributions. He's on set pieces. He showed that he has a more attacking creativity a little bit near the end of last season, which, definitely puts him more on the radar too. But, I would say that's the main thrust of it, is that, you get 90 minutes out of him. He's going to be starting. He's going to be pushing up a little bit higher with Zubamendi coming in. That's an important part. And, he has a pre-made goal scorer in front of him now with Gyökeres in front. So there'll be some assist and other things in there that'll help him out as well. But I see what you're saying. I think for me, it comes down to preference, and I can see why you prefer Rice. I just think I'd prefer Kudus in this situation.
That's fair. We all make our own choices in FPL,
Basically, you're saying so you can be wrong however you want.
No, I'm saying I could be wrong either. I mean, who knows? We'll have to see how it plays out.
Maybe we're both wrong.
Easily, we could be.
And then it leaves us all wondering, why are we listening to this podcast?
That's true.
It's because they're here for the vibes. So, other player that I think kind of pops up on your list, Paul, I think having Bowen in the B tier is something that pops out to me on your list, because if Jared Bowen was a midfielder, I think he'd be on either our A tier or our top tier. But
he would have been a mainstay in my team.
Yeah, by reclassifying him as a forward, it really, really complicates
FPL
things.
Towers really fucked us. Sorry for.
I understand what they did. His heat map and the actual categorization of his positioning, he fell more into a forward position than he did as a midfielder. So
semantics.
I get it. I understand where it came from, but it's so frustrating. It's one of those where you wish they'd look the other way and leave him as a midfielder, because he's going to be playing as a midfielder, I think, the majority, and that's what he is, right? So, it's a shame about, really, the reason I'm bringing that up, it's a shame about Bowen. I wish that he'd be a midfielder, but because he's a forward, I just don't think he'll ever make it into my team. At least starting out for game week 1. So I don't know. Do you think you might have him in your team, Paul, to start out?
I don't think so. There's just a lot of not enough budget to go around, really. I mean, they have a great game week 1 matchup of Sunderland away. That's a really good fixture to sorry, I can't talk right now. Fixture to start the season. But after that, it does kind of change a little bit. I mean, like if I was planning on bench boosting game week 1 and then wild carding game week 2, I think Bowen would be a mainstay in all those teams I build.
Right.
For Sunderland away. I mean, that's a really good fixture.
Yeah.
I just don't like long term. Well, let's see if West Ham brings somebody in. If Paqueta leaves, it's really going to impact their attack. I'm going to probably wait for the dust to settle. If Bowen hits a hot streak, though, I will be moving early for him, though.
I believe that. Let's say Bowen gets a goal game week 1. Paul immediately transfers in the team.
Bring him in right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. I could see that. Okay, so do you have any other thoughts on that, around that price range? Or, sorry, that tier categorization?
For yours, I think Anthony Gordon is an interesting one. He's shown that he's grown a lot in his time as Newcastle. This is the same player that I think both of us were very skeptical on. Like, I think you were higher on him when he went to Newcastle, but I was just like, the end product's not there, and he's really added that to his game. And he was a young player, so that's completely understandable. A lot of that's kind of just those like minutes of repetition at Premier League level that really helps him. And he is a very good footballer. He could eventually, who knows, if he keeps growing, expanding his game, maybe he gets in the conversation for starting left winger with England.
Yeah.
Who knows? He could get there eventually. I mean, he has that kind of ability. I just feel like there's other options. I mean, at 7.5 as a midfielder, I would see even players at like a 5.5 price range that I would probably prefer to go for, that would enable my team to have more flexibility besides that position. Like, to me, Anthony Gordon isn't worth the price point, but I bet he's going to have really low ownership, and we know that he can go on these really hot streaks. So if they keep Isak,
yeah, for sure,
I think he could be a good option. So I really don't mind him at the B tier.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad to hear that validation, because he's someone that
no problem.
He's someone that I've looked at in teams, and I like the idea of him, but I don't, like you're saying, I think I need to see him have some success in the season first, kind of like you said with Bowen, where you see a couple goals go in, he looks good, he's lively on the ball. And I mean, let's say Isak leaves, he and potentially whoever, we're not sure who would come in for Isak at this point if Newcastle had to bring someone in for this window.
They're just going to bring one of their fans in from the stands at this point.
Oh my gosh. But that
Alan
means
Shearer's back.
That would be wild. What if they got Harry Kane? That would be fun.
No way.
But with Gordon, he's someone where he could be on pins, right? And if he's on pins, his value at 7.5, his value becomes a lot better.
I think he's taken a couple pins for Newcastle.
He has. It was Isak and Gordon who would kind of, if Isak was off the pitch, Gordon would usually take it if Callum Wilson wasn't on the pitch. So, yeah, something interesting. Kind of the last point I think I want to make out of your attacker list, Paul, is I really like your D tier of players. I think it gets very creative, and you have. I know that Strand Larson is someone that you've really liked for a while.
Strand Larson, Hive Unite.
He contributed to your team a lot last season and was a great differential for a stretch for you. I'm going to read all 5 right now. So Paul's D tier list, and all still good attackers: Matoma, Shada, Strand Larson, Ekatike, and Wissa. All 5 of those have really high upside, and in my opinion, could argue to be some of the best value picks of the entire season. So keep your eyes on those. I think those are all really great picks by Paul. And Ekatike is someone who could easily knock it out of the park, have a great FPL season, be within the 200, 250, maybe even pushing 300. if things go his way, if Isak doesn't come and isn't, starting as their number 9. So
Yeah.
all of those are really great. I think it's a good shout. I'm interested to see what Brighton do this season. They're kind of retooling a little bit with João Pedro leaving, so we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But all of this, I like all those picks right there. I think it's great for our listeners to kind of think about those options because they're all really digestible prices and could have really great seasons.
Yeah, and another thing too, I do want to highlight from your list, Luke, before we move on from this. On your D tier list, you also have. Well, actually, I want to highlight something on your C tier list because we didn't talk much about it. You have 3 United attackers on there, possibly 3. So there's Sesko, who probably at this point looks like he's going to United, and Bomo and Cunha. I think all 3 of those players, but especially Sesko, could work his way into a lot of people's teams. Because believe it or not, I mean, I'm just like anybody else in this that is a football fan that's not a United fan. They can be really annoying. Like it United itself, just the whole institution. I'm sorry, like it is what it is. But they did something in this transfer window, in my opinion. Like they're building a good foundation going forward. Where I think their midfield is going to have a lot of issues. I don't think that's the solution going forward for them. But having Bruno, Sesko, and Bomo and Cunha in their attack, and then some good other options coming off the bench, like that, they're going to score goals. Like they realistically will. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me game week 1 if they beat Arsenal.
Yeah, no, it
would not surprise me.
I think for that to happen, it's got to be the type of match where Arsenal dominate and United end up winning 3-0 on an XG of like 1.02 to 1.03 kind of thing, right? Yeah. And that's kind of the way they're building their team right now, is building these really clinical finishers. That does run the risk that maybe they start underperforming their XG a little bit. Mm-hmm. And if that happens, they're going to be in some trouble. But I think Arsenal will probably win that match myself.
I mean, I really hope so, because I don't want to spiral already in game week 1. But
here we go. We're back.
I will.
We are back.
I will. But yeah, look, I think that kind of wraps up the attacking portion. Mm-hmm. And maybe briefly we can just touch on a couple defenders or even midfielders, I guess, if we want to throw it out there, that we think would be a really good fit for the new DEFCON system.
Yes. So there's a lot of names to be thrown out here for this because we're still trying to understand how this is going to impact the season, right? One of the names that always pops off first for DEFCON is James Tarkowski. Mm-hmm. At 5.5, Everton have designed their team to be very defensively stable and build out from there, potentially adding Jack Grealish, which would, I think, be a really great signing for them.
Honestly, for them, like, I love that signing, but it even makes me feel more confident about their defense.
Yeah.
Because Jack Grealish is one of those players where you can be absorbing pressure, play the ball out to him, and he can eliminate 2 defenders or hold the ball for 2 defenders to give players more time to set up,
win a set piece,
keep possession.
You know, build the ball up the field. Yes, he is definitely going to be someone who's going to be a good option for that. So Tarkowski is one of those names, but the first thing that comes to mind really for me when I think of DEFCON and the way I've been interpreting it is looking at Nottingham Forest. I think their defense, they have Nico Williams, who's a great fullback, who's high on DEFCON. I think he almost averages 10 per game.
Yeah.
Which would get him to those, extra 2 points almost immediately. You have Murillo, who's a great option, really tough center back, who also is above 10 per game, I believe. And then also Milinkovic, who also is near 10 as well. And they're priced accordingly, but I will not going to give out too many trade secrets, but I think I'll probably be going double Forest defense going into the season because they're really high on DEFCON. They've kept, I think, 6 clean sheets in the preseason so far. I think, 0 goals to go with that or something crazy like that. And it hasn't been 0 goals, but they've only scored a couple goals, but they've kept a lot of clean sheets, and that's still going to be their priority as a team. So I think for me, Forest are a team to really look at and figure out which asset fits your team the best. But for me, I'll probably be trying to get 2 into my team.
Yeah, I agree with you, Luke. It's the force guys and Tarkowski are going to be really hard to pass on because, I mean, inherently in that metric, you kind of want players that aren't going to be as possession dominant. So teams like Liverpool, Arsenal, it's just more difficult for them to get those stats.
Right. Okay. So explain that context a little bit more. Why do you think it's harder to get those stats for the defenders?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, the DEFCON is just rating defenders that can get you more deflections, interceptions, tackles, all those things.
Right.
And if you're, it's very, to me, I'm going to say it as simply as I can. It may make me sound dumb, but like if your team is possessing the ball, you can't win those stats.
Right.
Like it's really that simple. And I mean, you have a team like Crystal Palace who I think have like 3 assets that could arguably, they almost have 4 defending assets that you could argue would be great fits.
Right.
With Munoz, which to me, he's more of an attacking minded. That's like, I'm going to be aggressive with the defender that I get on my team. And then there's Gahey, who's really good on the DEFCON scale.
Yeah.
Lacroix. And then also Richards. All 3 of those players are really good at DEFCON, and they're not going to have possession of the ball, especially if we see a situation where Eze leaves, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And their defense, I even think Wharton could be a decent pick for them at 5.0.
Yeah.
Like he tests very well in the DEFCON metrics. Like I think he had probably like, I don't want to misquote anything, but we can look into it later and put those numbers out. But Wharton at 5.0 is a great price enabler.
Yeah.
And if he's getting 2+ points a game, you throw in a clean sheet every once in a while, he's probably not going to get goal returns. But like if that's consistent over a season, I mean, he could be a mid-tier midfielder without getting goals and assists, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What you were saying, Paul, about Wharton being a good asset at 5 million. I think there's another really good 5 million asset that's kind of come out of the woodwork the last day or so is Dewsbury Hall going to Everton.
Yeah, from Chelsea.
He'll be starting. There's no doubt he will be starting. And he's also a very, he has a creative nature to the way he plays as well. So not only could you be getting some defensive contributions, but maybe even some goal contributions on top of that. So for 5 million, that's someone we should really kind of be looking at potentially having in our teams. So something to keep on the radar. So
yeah, I really like that, Luke. Anybody else to highlight from DEFCON? So I think also Wan-Bissaka could be a really good pick. We know he tests really good on those metrics, but he also is like showing, I think he's growing at West Ham in his ability to like create assists, to maybe show up with a goal every once in a while.
Right.
I mean, it's not somebody that I don't think he's like at a Munoz level or even per se like a wing back. You'd really like, he can produce some attacking returns, but I don't think it's going to be, he's not going to be playing like a right wing like Munoz does at times, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Munoz is someone who I think is great value too, because not only with Munoz he tests very well in DEFCON, he also is such an attacking threat too. The way that they use him as their right winger at times, that is something that makes him incredible value for what you're getting from him. So someone to keep on the radar, in my opinion. And other assets, I don't want to go to what I'm thinking. I want to kind of analyze what you were saying, Paul. With the assets you're talking about, right? Like, let's say Chris Richards, for example, Wan-Bissaka. There are a couple others that you said that kind of made me think this. I really feel like you're thinking about this in the right way, where you're looking at DEFCON, but value for DEFCON. So you're getting those 4.5 million assets. Gahey's another one that you mentioned, where they're going to get a lot of points from their defensive contributions and potentially clean sheets, and you're not spending too much to get them as well. So that's kind of the line that I'm towing with. If I go double force defense, I'm going to be paying for it, right? But on those rare fixtures where I say get two defenders with defensive contributions and a clean sheet on top of that, then that becomes an incredible week already, right?
I mean, you could argue too that, I mean, the repeating champion of our FPL league 2 years ago, whenever he went double Arsenal, I think it was just like, it was in 23 and 24 after they went to Dubai and went on that huge run. He had double Arsenal defense. And that was just like we were talking about earlier, it's like passive income, you know?
Yeah.
You just bank those points every week. And having a team like Force as a double defense, I like the idea of it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's also like, maybe there's other teams out there you could find that would do that.
And my other thought process with that too is both those assets that I'd be bringing in, if it's Murillo and Milinkovic, they're priced at 5.5 million. And with that in mind, that gives me flexibility to change more in my team if I want to, if I decide to go off of that. Because like we're saying, there's such great value at the 4.5, even some 4 million options that I could drop down to. And then I can change a lot in my team from there. If I decide that I don't want to say go with double force defense and just want to go single force defense over time. So, just something I'm kind of keeping in the back of my mind, that I want to have that adaptability and flexibility with my team.
Yeah, I totally get that. And the good thing, like we've talked about a little bit, is that there's a lot of really good 4.5 mid defenders, that are going to enable us to like even have like double force defense or all that stuff and still have a serviceable goalkeeper, which there are serviceable goalkeepers at 4.5. And there could be a 4.0 Dubrika. The Dubrika.
going to Burnley.
Yeah, that's an inside
get your vaccine. Get your vaccines.
Not to get political, but I think DEFCON is going to be a really fun new dynamic to the game. So having a plan to get yourself through that and try to attach yourself to as many of the new points as possible is going to be a great way to make your rank higher than the average person that's not going to be paying attention to it,
For sure. Yep, I agree. So I think there's going to be a blind spot for a lot of people where the perfect example is Frimpong, right? Where I think a lot of people will be wanting to go there and not realizing that the true value is even higher with Van Dijk, because you have the goal threat, you have the DEFCON contributions and 90 minutes out of him. So
yeah, Van Dijk could be an absolute monster this year.
He could be. And I think I probably will, if I end up with him on my game week 1 team, I'll sleep pretty easy because I have him there.
I'm actually thinking about going another way and not having Liverpool defense to start the season, but I don't want to reveal all my trade secrets.
Yes, understood. We will not interrogate you on the podcast.
Where's Suchberger?
Oh gosh.
But yeah, I think we're both spiraling a little bit. I can't even talk anymore.
As you were saying that, Paul, I could only picture the Office scene where Michael Scott was being tortured. That's literally what I was envisioning in my head.
Oh gosh. Yeah, but we are 1 week out from FPL. It's pretty wild. The first game is, I think, August 14th, right?
Yeah,
Liverpool and Brentford, Liverpool and Bournemouth.
Yep.
So I know we're both pumped for that. We're pumped to have everybody back listening to the podcast, to getting things going. It's a very exciting time to be with Top Enzo Twins because you're going to get to see more of our beautiful faces, like we said earlier.
That they will.
And I don't know. I feel like last year it was like FPL rolled around. I was like, oh man. But this year I think I'm really preparing and I'm kind of taking some preemptive steps, listening to Luke's advice to dive a little more into the stats and be more analytical with it. So
with that being said, there's a new project that has come out that we wanted to talk about here at the very end.
Yeah.
Called Solio Analytics. And if I butchered that, I'm so sorry. I think that's how it's pronounced. It is a new project released by some FPL content creators where they've envisioned a new way for people to analyze their FPL team, but also give people more control and, understand the information that feeds into these really analytical decisions that some managers are making for FPL. And it gives you a lot more adaptability in how you want to interpret those numbers. So go give that a check out. Sorry, stumbled over that.
Check it out.
Go check it out. It's a really cool project. Paul,
and it's completely free.
Do you have any other thoughts on it because I know we both looked at it and we both really liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's just really intuitive. And you see a lot of these platforms that are out there where, you can plug in your team. They're going to give you ideas for like AI transfers that are most likely shit, or that there's a certain point total. This is adaptable where, you can, if you say, I think that Verts is going to have a better season than Slot, or you're going to decrease your value based on, they have their own numbers that are projected, but you can alter those numbers too and kind of make your own, it's essentially like making your own really, really nice Excel spreadsheet. And then it puts it in the separate like area for you where it shows you different permutations of different teams, creates like, it has like a software. I don't know exactly. I haven't dove into all the metrics behind everything, but it'll show you different options you can have, different transfers you should make, and it goes down week by week. And
yeah, exactly. That's one of the biggest points I wanted to make is for a lot of softwares you use, it's kind of hard to see that week to week team. Not only does this allow you to see that team, but it gives you more of a trended analysis on how they expect your team to perform over the first 10 to 15 game weeks, which is really valuable. It helps provide almost like a neutral third party analysis of your team, right? It's a good way to check yourself, and it's a really good way to do a kind of comparative analysis for the different team setups you can have. So we know analytics will not give you every single answer you want in creating FPL teams because there's a lot of variability that goes into a single football match. A lot of different variables. It's so hard to predict what's going to happen every single match, but this helps give you a broader thought process on how to set up your team for, all the chips you want to use for the next 10, 15 weeks, however you want to approach it. So definitely go give that a check out because, and I said it again, God, I'm tired.
We are spiraling, but
we are.
I also too do want to highlight that. I mean, these are just guys that people we followed on Twitter that I think there's a couple of these people associated with that have been putting out graphics over the past year or so. And then because of us following them on Twitter and Blue Sky, we saw this put out. It's completely free. We are not associated with them at all. We have nothing to do with it. It's just something that I think is really fun and intuitive to use as an FPL manager. So
it is.
We can keep you updated on how that process goes. I think it's free for the month of August. So if you want to check it out,
good call out there.
I think it's really good on a desktop. Like if you have a laptop, some kind of platform like that to look at it, maybe an iPad. It's a lot more. It's laid out and really good in that manner. It's still good on your mobile device too, but we both would highly recommend it. And Luke, do you have any closing thoughts? Because I'm losing it right now.
I do not. I think that it's going to be quite a crazy time over the next week or so. There's going to be some more transfers that might happen that could alter how we approach the FPL season. So keep a close eye on that and keep tinkering away. But also, I think it's a good time to start pushing towards what we think should be our final FPL teams, right? And really getting an idea and being confident in what we're putting out there for game week 1. So, but we want to thank you all for getting to this point in the podcast, and I'll hand it over to Paul to close it out.
Yeah. One word of advice that I really don't want to do that I did last year that may be helpful to people is whenever you're looking at your team, have it set like 2 or 3 days before the deadline. Don't be going in like literally like 10 minutes before. Like if there's something new data comes out, all that stuff, that's fine. But like making these last second changes, I feel like I usually fluctuate away from a team that would have been better, making like a spur of the moment decision,
Yeah, I get that.
That's just me.
I think that's great advice.
That's just me.
With that, we are gonna end the podcast. So thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you and being back with you guys soon. So thanks.
Thanks everybody. We'll see you soon.